Good morning, Democrats. Thank you, Reverend Bentz, for that introduction. I am proud and humbled to be standing on this stage. Some of my greatest heroes have stood on this stage and in this room. I am running for Attorney General because now is the time that we need strong and progressive leaders who are ready to join us in the fight. As you all know, my top 3 issues are guns, drugs, and antitrust. On guns, I say we can no longer endorse leaders who are allies of the gun industry who have an A+ from the NRA. As Attorney General, I won't stand with the NRA, I'll stand up to the NRA. On drugs, we have to hold the pharmaceutical companies accountable for their role in out-of-control prescription drug prices and the opioid epidemic. I will take on the pharmaceutical companies and force them to the bargaining table to negotiate lower drug prices. Minnesota has not initiated a single investigation or lawsuit on drug pricing. As Attorney General, I will take on the drug companies and fight for lower health care costs for all Minnesotans. On antitrust, the concentration of too much political and economic power in too few hands is one of the greatest challenges facing our society. Besides collective bargaining, antitrust is the best tool we have to shift the balance of power in our economy back into the hands of working people in the middle class. Minnesota used to lead the nation in antitrust enforcement, but now we trail other states. It's simply a difference of priorities. As your Attorney General, I will once again ensure that Minnesota leads the nation in holding special interests accountable through antitrust enforcement. I am asking you to make a change. It's hard, I get it. So I'm gonna speak the ugly truth for a moment. We all felt pride when we read the headlines that Minnesota had joined Washington State's lawsuit against the travel ban. But when no one was looking, Minnesota quietly dropped that lawsuit and doesn't oppose the travel ban. We all read the headlines that Minnesota was suing 3M for $5 billion. But then in the middle of the night, we settled that case for 15 cents on the dollar, and we paid a Washington, D.C. law firm $125 million in legal fees to do it. We've all heard about the fight to protect net neutrality, but 18 other states got in that fight before we did, and we were the last to join the fight. We've seen the headlines that Minnesota this week finally filed its own opioid case, but we're more than 10 years into the opioid epidemic. We are celebrating the year of women in politics, and my friends, it cannot come fast enough. But right now, the Attorney General's office does not offer paid parental leave for all of its employees. And while we in this room and so many people in this state were out fighting for marriage equality, our Attorney General was silent. I have called so many of you delegates here today and met with you throughout Minnesota. I have listened to you and heard you. I know that you, like me, are fighting to make a difference in people's lives. One delegate I called couldn't come to the phone because she was busy driving a young neighbor to a community college where she was also going to help with the first tuition payment. Another delegate I called opened her home to a refugee family fleeing war in Africa, a mother and her children. That next morning, the family was going to have to go to court, and the mother was going to have to sign her name on documents. The next day, the host went to the mother's room and saw that even though the family had traveled 40 hours, that mother had spent the entire night writing her name over and over again, practicing so that she and her kids could stay here in Minnesota. I stand here today as a confident and strong gay Minnesotan, but I have been bullied for it in my life. I know from my own story and hearing so many stories that each and every one of you here today is fighting and standing and leading in your own ways, in your own lives. But the reason we are here today, the reason we are Democrats, is because we believe that we don't have to just stand alone. We believe that we can stand together to make a difference in people's lives. We believe that it is by standing together that not only can we win this November, we will win this November. It has not always been an easy road to this podium, but I am never one to back down from a bully or from a fight for a better Minnesota. Endorse me, and together we will see that leadership isn't just about getting the headlines. It's taking the hard fights, the ones that require tenacity and fearlessness, even when no one is looking. That is who I have always been, and it's who I will be as your Attorney General. Democrats, we are here today to make a difference. Your vote, your endorsement in this race will make a tremendous difference. A progressive leader does not have an A+ rating from the NRA. A progressive leader does not drop the travel ban fight when no one is looking or stay silent on marriage equality. A progressive leader does not settle environmental lawsuits for pennies on the dollar or be the last to join the fight for net neutrality. A progressive leader does not bust unions or block the fundamental right of workers to form and organize a collective bargaining arrangement. No, my friends, progressive leadership means picking the fights that need fighting and sticking it out to the end. Join me, endorse me today for Attorney General, and I will be a leader against the NRA, fighting to keep our kids and communities safe from gun violence. I will never back down and always stand with our immigrant and refugee communities to say, you are welcome here and we will protect you. I will never sell out our environment. I will fight to protect it by keeping our rivers and lakes and drinking water clean. We can have sustainability in our environment and our economy. I will never stay silent on issues of equal rights. I am a proud gay Minnesotan, and I will always stand with you in the fight for equal rights for every Minnesotan. Speaking of equal rights, endorse me and I will fight for paid parental leave, not just for all of my employees, but for all of the women and families in Minnesota. I will never be the last to fight for a free and open internet. It's essential to a free and open economy and the marketplace of ideas and to democracy itself. I will be the first to defend it. Endorse me and you will have an Attorney General who will join you on the picket lines, take your rights to the courtroom, and together we will build unions. And that starts with the attorneys in the Attorney General's office. This is a great state. I love Minnesota. I love our values and our people and what we stand for. I even love our winters, to be honest. You've heard how I've spent over 20 years fighting to make a difference in Minnesota law and politics. I will never give up that fight. In closing, I want to share something with you that many of you may have seen on houses of all kinds, houses of worship and hope and love throughout Minnesota. It says, in this house, and yes, here in this house today, we believe Black lives matter. Trans lives matter. Native lives matter. Climate change is real. Women's rights are human rights. Love is love and love is the law. No human being is illegal. And we believe that politics can make a positive difference in people's lives. Thank you, Democrats. I humbly ask for your endorsement.